especially sympathetic or empathetic people. So it's just something innate, I guess, something that made me a poet eventually. This wanting to feel what you feel and help if I can. So I think that's something it was really nice to learn about myself.
This is People and Their Poems, a podcast about the poems that make a difference in our world. People and Their Poems is presented by Ornog Mountain Publishing. Thanks for joining us today.
Welcome to People and Their Poems podcast. I'm Sandy Carlson, your host, and I'm here with Fulton Jennes. She is the Poet Laureate Emerita of Ridgefield, Connecticut, and the Director of Poetry of the Poetry in the Garden Festival at Keeler Tavern Museum. And she's recently published in the Time of Sonic Booms through Grayson Press, and she's here to talk about her inspiration and share some of her poetry with us. Thanks for joining us today, Barb.
Oh, I'm so delighted to be here, Sandy. I always love these podcasts you do. So wonderful.
Yeah, your poetry is so amazing. I feel like you're our like if you could take the Billy Collins ordinariness and the ethereal nature that comes through in a very grounded way through Mary Oliver, you get Barb Jennes.
Oh, wow.
You know?
That's amazing. Wow, thank you, Sandy.
So,
that'll be on my headstone.
Well, those are two of my favorites, but you're also, your own voice is so unique and amazing. It's awesome that you have a new book out. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to pull this collection together?
Sure. It's been 5 years in the making. They're all poems about, when there used to be sonic booms. Sandy, I think you're probably way too young to remember, and a lot of people don't even know what sonic booms are. But when I was a kid, we'd be running around the backyard or doing whatever we were doing on our bikes, and all of a sudden this blast of sound that you could actually probably feel more than hear. And it would be from a military plane, breaking the sound barrier overhead. And those were called sonic booms. There's a very, you can look up the scientific reason for it, but they were eventually outlawed because they were such a jarring thing that they were actually, windows were shattering, things were falling off of shelves, people were getting hurt. So they banned supersonic flight over the U.S. So it's about my years growing up in late 50s, early 60s, when things like that were a common occurrence, as were many other things. The book is really a collection of vignettes about wacky people, including my family, and things that happened that I know people have said to me, all this stuff happened to you when you were young, and yeah, it did. Very, very unusual events and characters from the past. So I guess the inspiration was just these people were coming to me, just fully formed again. I think the older I get, the more vivid my memories of the past are than what happened last Tuesday, much less at the grocery store this morning. And so I pretty much told their stories. They were asking me to share the wackiness of it all. But so there's some really cool, very cool stories in here. I know it's not sentimental. That's what I want to really stress. One of the poets who blurbed it said, don't be fooled. This is not a sentimental story. There's violence, lots and lots of violence in every household. Charles Rafferty, one of the poets who blurbed it, said, inside every home there's something familiar and something very dark. So, and it's true. That's the way I remember growing up. So.
Sorry, I was having a Zoom moment. It wouldn't let me unmute.
Oh.
I don't know. The title alone, when we would take for granted that the military had to do things that could be damaging or dangerous for us. Think of all the brownfields that are thanks to the military and their experimentation in the name of what? Protecting us? What
right.
would we be afraid of? I think the emergency, the emotional emergency that all of that created is very telling.
Well, there's also, sorry to interrupt, but the other thing we were all afraid of was, it was the height of the Cold War. I mean, these were the days of the Cuban Missile Crisis. And there's a poem in the book about my father spreading out his plans for a basement bomb shelter on the raised footrest of his Barca left. Every night he got out the same plans. He never built the damn thing, but he got out the plans. But yeah, that manifested in all aspects of our life, from school to home to being outdoors playing and hearing a sonic boom. So yeah, weird. Well, I guess we're equally afraid in different ways now, but there was a lot of innate fear in the air back then.
True. And I think this idea that you're being controlled or restricted in ways that are for your own good, that kind of the system imposing itself on us. So I would love to hear some of your poems from this collection.
Oh, great. All right. Well, let me just see. I've marked a couple here. Something else that gets brought up a lot in the collection is my upbringing as in the Protestant church, where I can remember saying in fact, there's a poem about it, I said from a very young age that I don't believe. And my father yelled up, "You don't believe, you don't live in this house." And I went out and sat in the doghouse on Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving dinner. So there's a poem about that. But yeah, so let me read a poem called "Maria Knew the Secrets." Maria was my friend who was, well, the poem tells you, but she was a devout Catholic. Thursdays, Maria left my side in Miss McCarthy's second grade class, dismissed half an hour early to bus to catechism class at St. Henry's on the other side of town. "They're off to Jesus land again," Billy Hayes often mocked, but I envied them. Pale in our beliefs, we Dutch Reformed Protestants didn't kneel or genuflect, received communion only once a month, knew nothing of rosaries, saints, limbo, stigmata. But Maria knew the secrets. Maria, the middle of 5, whose father died when baby Tad was born, left Mrs. Petrak alone. Maria, over whose bed hung a doe-eyed Jesus, pointing to his thorn-tangled heart, whose mother caught her stealing marshmallows from a high cupboard, made her kneel, bare-kneed, weeping for the rest of the afternoon, whose charm bracelet jangled with tarnished metals, safety pin to a rusted chain, whose forehead yearly bore a smoky cross before Easter. When word tore through the playground one June day that the Catholic Pope was dead, we looked at each other for instructions, paused, went back to play. All but Maria, who bowed her head, ferried her hand from forehead to chest, then side to side, fell to her knees in the shade of the big metal slide, just like the plastic Virgin Mary in the town nativity scene, spilling white light everywhere. So that's Maria Petrak.
Wow. The imagery and the nuances enveloped in each image are just mind-blowing. I think the metals, safety pin, and the rusted chain. Yeah, and what holds us together, barely.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, her whole family was so devout, and even though, I guess part of the reason I didn't believe was because we didn't have that. We didn't have the ritual and the rigmarole, as my mother would call it, But so there was really nothing to pin my faith to at that point in my life. I was a kid. I mean, what did I know? So, I mean, I knew how to sing "Jesus Loves Me, This I Know," but beyond that, I guess I hadn't learned enough or had it instilled in me enough to be a faithful young person. So anyway, so that's Maria.
And the idea of looking at each other for instructions.
Oh boy, yes.
Well, I was raised Methodist, and after baptism, it wasn't until the second grade that I went to Sunday school. And I remember the little girl next door, little Susie McManus, came over when she had her first communion, and she was wearing a scapula.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting and mysterious. And I asked her what you do at your first communion, and she said, "Well, you bite a cracker." This was her understanding of this sacred ritual. And I thought, well,
Yep.
I could do that.
Come on, let's go down to my kitchen. I'll treat you. Oh boy. Yeah. Oh wow. The mystery of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something. Thank you for that. What else you got there, Barb?
Oh, let me do another. Speaking of not understanding fully the world, the real world that was happening. This is one I love. This poem, and these, by the way, are 100% real characters. This one is called "Alice Believed She Was a Horse." Alice believed she was a horse, so she neighed extravagantly at recess, dashed full tilt, leaned far back, paddled her outstretched arms. When Alice jumped off the school bus, she trotted up the driveway to a nice house we all knew was not her own. Alice's real house was across the street, a dingy place set far back from the road under bare elms. If Mrs. Flubacher called on her, Alice only stared straight ahead, blew a fluttering burst of air through her lips. On the day Mr. Hardgrave announced that the president was shot, dead, Alice forced the plastic horse she carried everywhere into a low bow on her desk. Its front legs snapped off. Alice bowed her head, wept. Later, at recess, I helped Alice bury the horse and its broken legs in the big sandbox. After that, she greeted me near our lockers with a nicker and a head toss, circled me with a snort before galloping on. I don't recall riding to Alice's house when she invited me to sleep over, or who opened the door to greet me. I remember a black and white zenith with rabbit ears set on a wobbly TV tray table, a beagle that humped my leg, a mustached man in a gray sweatshirt, his black hair oiled back, his eyes gentle, gentlest when he looked at Alice. Her mother clasped her hands in front of her stained apron, smiled, listened to Alice laugh, scolded, "Bad dog." I remember pretzels in a torn bag that leaked salt crystals into the bed between us. Like sharp snow, one of us said. We whispered about the girls who mocked us, the monster on the plane wing in the last twilight zone. Alice opened the window behind our heads. Autumn air filled the room with the smell of woolly bear caterpillars kept in jars. The transistor radio played a whiter shade of pale. Its echoing organ filled our church of dark. The dog curled at our feet. Loud snorts rattled under her parents' door. Moonlight buttered the yo-yo quilt. I don't remember Alice's wallpaper, or if she had a shelf lined with plastic horses, or if the dog or her mother or the sun woke us. We had pancakes for breakfast, syruped from a bottle shaped like a woman, hands clasped in front of her apron. I don't remember going home. I remember wanting to stay. I don't remember when Alice stopped being a horse. Alice.
Wow. Boy, Alice.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Oh, and the slumber party imagery, our Church of Dark. Thank you.
I,
Wow.
Boy. I don't know if you remember that song. Oh, it was always kind of frightening to me because had this very deep, dark organ music in the background. But and I used to leave my radio on at night to help me sleep. And if that came on, I'd have to turn the radio off because I get scared. But with Alice, it didn't matter. I wasn't afraid. So anyway, that was our Church of Dark. So.
Yeah, wow. And then just what she got through, the imagery of the horse.
Yeah.
And the legs breaking that,
And so many people have said to me, I had a friend who thought she was a horse, or pretended she was a horse, but Alice just never broke character except when she was home. Anyway.
Wow.
Anyway. So it's stories like that. I mean, some of them a lot more tragic than that. That's kind of a happy. There are some really tragic stories too. I don't know if you want another one, but
sure, let's have it.
I hadn't planned on reading it because it's tragic. Hold on, let me see if I can find. I'm sorry, I hate it when people go pawing through their collection going, I didn't plan to read this, but here you go. Okay. It's called That's the Boy Who Shot His Brother on Christmas Day. He slid between me that, oh, sorry. He slid beside me that first day and every day, just the two of us in all the rows of seats on the coughing yellow bus. We never talked. Our eyes never met. I looked out my window. He peered straight ahead. When the raucous lake kids clambered aboard and hovered around us later in the route, he took my hand and held it. At school, we parted ways, him to his kindergarten classroom at the far end of the hall, me to mine behind Mrs. Johnson's red door, her shepherding us out of the cloakroom. Hurry, children, it's time to learn. Sometimes I saw him on the playground, in an assembly, shivering through a fire drill outdoors, each of us alone, surrounded by a moat of silence. We met again in the bus at the end of each school day. Whichever of us boarded first saved the seat. We never talked. Our eyes never met. At his stop, he'd rise and clomp down the aisle, down the bus's high steps, the buckles of his unbuckled rubber boots slapping, his mother in the window, waving hello. Once, driving past his house on our way to Miller's Market, I pointed to the house, told my mother, "He's my friend." She raised her eyebrows, told me. 2 Christmases ago, older brother showing off his new 22. Here, you hold it. The Monday after I learned the truth, he slid beside me on the school bus. We never talked. Our eyes never met. I took his hand and held it.
Oh, wow.
So these are characters who have just stayed with me, all through, and a lot of years in between where I probably never gave them a thought. It was just raising kids, teaching, doing this, but having being in retirement now and having way too much time to get into trouble. They come back and knock on the door, and it's really cool. So,
just listening for the first time, there are details that resonate with me with kids that I knew growing up, and circumstances. And I think what your poems are doing for me on the first listen is opening up those spaces too. And now the playground's populated with a lot of really, really interesting people. And, and it's so interesting, that when back then when our parents opened up the back door and said, go play, we were entering worlds we knew nothing about.
Yeah. And lots of times they locked the door, at least my mother did. So yeah, exactly right. You just didn't know what you were going to encounter out there, whether it was the neighbor kid who, blew up frogs and turtles, or, just lots of things that could happen in your young world, so boy. But I'm glad you said that, because that's the kind of poetry I most strive to write, or ones that are poems that will evoke something similar in the reader or the listener, because that whole awakening inside, it's like with the collection, my first collection, Blinded Verge, which was about addiction and depression in my family. I mean, I had so many people who related very personally to those poems, and it was important for them to express that connection, and it helps to heal. I mean, this one, it may not be a healing, but it will be a remembering, and that in many ways, realizing you had a really rich life, which you tend to forget about sometimes, is important too.
Yeah, and it may sound kind of simplistic, but that not every life is your life. You know what I mean? Like that it does look different behind other closed doors.
Yes.
And there's a complexity there that, and what's interesting to me is that last poem, the tragic poem, it made me think of To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah.
And because both narratives take you places you can't even imagine the complexity.
Right.
And thinking of Atticus reluctantly, but ultimately driving Jem to the Robinson household, and the things that he can only experience through the glass, that no matter how much we can connect or feel connected, there is a distance and there is an aloneness. about the experience. And I feel like you're giving voice to those characters and whatever that looked like, and I feel like, Alice may be my new muse though, because that she had that way to cope with whatever about school.
Yep. Yep.
You go, Alice. That's I mean,
Yep. Her
you got
coping
her there.
mechanism, Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the other thing that this does for me is wonder about where those people are now. I mean, I'm of an age where a lot of them may have already passed away. I mean, not that old, but I'm getting there. Lots of people die young. So you just wonder. I mean, where did they go? So
Yeah, and also just to stop and think of those little passing moments that stay with us
yeah,
from whatever elementary school experience onward, that might, but what different ones might have resonated with them and stuck with them. That
right.
becomes,
Yes. Yep.
yeah.
Exactly. Oh
So
boy.
did you have another one yet you could read?
Yeah, let me oh, this is one about my father. So there are some family reflections, pardon me, in the book too. A lot about especially my middle sister who was a little closer in age to me than my oldest sister, a lot of the adventures we had. But this one is called The Only Poem I'll Ever Write About My Father's Kindness. That day I took your claw hammer, your D-shaped coping saw, the orange-capped Elmer's glue, the little can of minwax stain left over from Nana's vanity, nails from the coffee can over the rumble furnace, and made you an ashtray, a thick-lipped square pit of scrap wood, sawn, glued, stained, with two half-driven nails to hold your ember-tipped coffin nail between thin silver fingers. You could have mocked my choice of flammable materials, could have berated my borrowing of your verboten tools, could have raged about the bent nails and sawdust left littering your workshop floor, the glue cap chewed open by front teeth, the brown streaked yellow cheeks of the still open stain can, the work light left burning above it all. But you lit the last Pall Mall from your pack, blew a caterpillar of smoke rings into the evening air, and flicked a soft gray worm of ash into the cobbled thing I raised to you.
Oh, wow.
My father.
That's cool. And again, the verboten tools can relate to that. My dad had a workbench in the basement, and he built this lock, and it was a piece of wood that with the latch so that he could put a little padlock on it. And I was too little to read, but there was a message written in magic marker on the wood. This was built to keep Sandy out.
Oops. Oh dear.
Like 2 boxes with the different acrylic ends on the screwdriver, all the colors.
Oh, yeah.
It's like this tackle box. So, I mean, I had all these deadly things in there for catching fish, but the colors and it was just a feast for your imagination. But that's...
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And the smells, too. The oil smells from the different paints, all sorts of things in the workshop. Yep. And the sawdust in my father's workshop, always the smell, which was still one of my favorite smells. I love the smell of newly sawn wood. But boy, yeah. Yep. So
it's a beautiful collection, Barb.
well, thank you.
So what did you learn about yourself in writing about these other people who have populated your world over the years?
One thing I learned, which surprised me, was that I guess it surprised me in a way. Even as a really young person, I was very empathic and very, very motivated to help other people. I mean, it's not in any of the poems, but I can still remember. It's kind of embarrassing, I'm sure, for my mother, but we used to go shopping on downtown Albany, and I was maybe 6, maybe 5, and I saw a woman standing at, back then there weren't malls, so you went from store to store to store to store down a block of stores, and it was busy downtown Albany, and I saw a woman waiting to cross the street, and she was probably your age, Sandy, and ran up to help her and take her by the arm to help her across the street. But it has made me wonder, where did I get that? Because my parents weren't especially sympathetic or empathetic people. So it's just something innate, I guess, something that made me a poet eventually. This wanting to feel what you feel, and help if I can. So I think that's something. It was really nice to learn about myself, because there, as with all of us, there are many things in my past that I regret, that I think, oh, you silly thing, you, But that part of me, distant though it was, and forgotten though it was for many years, really was very comforting to me. So yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, sometimes you look around and you think, wow, these were a tough bunch back then. Where'd I come from?
yeah, exactly. Yep. So, and it may also have been from being the youngest of three. I mean, maybe, and also, well, I don't know if that would play into it, but because my sisters were considerably older, I would spend a lot of time alone when they were at school and before I could start school. And my mother was just busy as all get out, being the house person, the housekeeper. So I was left on my own a lot. So I guess I wanted other people to not feel alone, not feel left out, not feel younger than the gang. I wanted people to feel that they were important players. So
yeah, that's beautiful. What do you recommend for anybody out there who might be looking back over the years and thinking they might have a go at poetry writing?
Oh, do it.
Yeah.
And I would say also, be as honest as you can. A lot of these poems reveal things about myself that aren't necessarily things that I'm proud of. A lot of them I am, but a lot of them, I was a kid, But be honest and dredge down about how you felt about what was happening, and let it come through how that has shaped you. I mean, you don't want to say, and now today I'm like blah blah blah, but you want your reader to be able to infer, wow, I bet that made you blank as a result. So anyway, but yeah, no, I mean, prose, poetry, whatever, write it down. I mean, it's just so fulfilling, and so not really I guess it's healing in a way too. I mean, I think anytime you can stare your past in the face and write about it, it's a good day.
Yeah. Who was your first reader for this collection, Barb?
A poet named Patrick Donnelly. He's up in Massachusetts. I've taken a lot of classes with him, and I because I trusted his instincts with my work so much, I asked him to read it. And it's changed very much since then. I mean, he read it in January of 22, so it's 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But it was funny because just recently, trying to put things away from the collection, I found his notes, and I also found the table of contents, and a lot of the poems are still in there. A lot has been added, many have been taken out, but I still carried with me his voice saying, I didn't always obey it, but he had said to me, sometimes you over describe. Let your reader do some of the work. You don't have to do all the heavy lifting. But I think in a way that's also partly the strength of my writing, is that it's so detailed you can feel like you're there. But he was very, very enthusiastic and very positive about where the collection was headed. So yeah, and I've had others since. I mean, friends who are poets, doing workshops at the desk.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he was my first and best reader. He's a good, solid person.
Well, that's great. And I think the idea that, it always comes back to trusting your voice after you get that insight.
Right.
And I think that is a feature of your poetry, is that the descriptions are so vivid and there's such a complexity in that you describe in your word choice. Yeah, it makes me remember being a student and having to write about poetry, and it's like, well, it stops being a poem as soon as I start doing that analysis. It speaks for itself. Just read the poem.
Yeah.
And,
you want to know? Read the poem. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I mean, it almost doesn't seem right to talk about it. Just let it live with you and be your companion. I mean, the beautiful stuff, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to talk to you about it and to promote it in this small way through the podcast, because it's your poetry is amazing, and your empathy and your sympathy just come through in everything you write, and I'm excited to get a copy. And we know it's available through your publisher, Grayson
Books. Yep.
Grayson Books. In local independent bookstores. Everybody needs to support those guys.
Yep.
Bookshop.org and Amazon.
If you got to do it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the cover. I'll show you. It's actually a picture of my family. Oh, it's kind of shiny and everything, but that's actually me in my mother's arms. And there's the nuclear blast in the background that we were all so fearful of. So, but yeah, I hope people will enjoy it. I mean, that's the important thing. Is my husband recently had COVID, and the books had just come the day before, so he said, let me read one of your poetry books. So he spent the next 2 days in bed reading, and he kept going, this is wonderful. So it's even him.
That's good. That's what you want. That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Barb.
Thank you, Sandy. It's always my pleasure to be with and talk to you in person and on pod.
This has been People and Their Poems, presented by Oronog Mountain Publishing. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to check the show notes for more information about this episode. Visit OronogMountainPublishing.com for more information about our services and writing opportunities. And visit peopleandtheirpoems.net to learn more about the podcast.